The Morrison Enterprise annual shareholders meeting always felt more like a family reunion than a business event. My cousins James and Michael strutting around in their matching Armani suits, Aunt Patricia dominating conversations about quarterly projections, Uncle Robert bragging about his latest acquisition deals. And then there was me, Lauren Morrison, sitting quietly in the back row in my simple navy blazer, holding just enough shares to maintain a seat at these meetings, shares my father left me before he passed away. The black sheep who'd walked away from the family business 5 years ago to start my own company. Lauren, still keeping that cute little startup alive. I looked up to see Michael approaching, his trademark condescending smile firmly in place. Behind him, James snickered, adjusting his Rolex, a gift from the board for exceptional leadership. "We're doing fine, Michael," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. If only they knew that my cute little startup, Horizon Technologies, had quietly become one of the most successful private companies in the industry. "Fine." James joined in. "Last I heard you were working out of some warehouse office. How many employees do you have now? 10? 15? I thought about my state-of-the-art headquarters downtown, with over 300 employees across 3 continents. But they didn't need to know that. Not yet. Something like that, I smiled, checking my phone. A message from my CFO flashed across the screen. "Everything's ready. Documents are prepared." Perfect timing. "You know," Michael leaned against the conference table, "there's always room for you back at Morrison Enterprise. Maybe not at your old executive level, but we could find you something appropriate." I remembered the day I left Morrison Enterprise. I'd presented a detailed plan to modernize our technology infrastructure, to prepare for the digital revolution I saw coming. The board, led by my cousins, had laughed it off. Old-fashioned business values were what mattered, they said. Innovation was just a buzzword. So I left, taking my inheritance shares and my ideas with me. I built Horizon Technologies from the ground up, operating in stealth mode, using shell companies and private investments to hide our true size and scope. While Morrison Enterprise clung to their outdated systems, Horizon developed cutting-edge software that transformed how businesses operated. Our client list included Fortune 500 companies, global banks, and yes, even some of Morrison Enterprise's biggest competitors. "Everyone, please take your seats," Uncle Robert's voice boomed through the conference room. "We have important matters to discuss." I settled into my usual spot in the back, watching my family arrange themselves like royalty at the head of the table. The same seating arrangement for 15 years: old money, old power, old ideas. "Before we begin," Uncle Robert adjusted his reading glasses, "I must address some concerns. Our market share has dropped 12% this quarter. Our biggest clients are moving to competitors with more advanced technological capabilities." I hid a smile. Those competitors were all using Horizon's software. "We need to consider modernization," he continued, looking uncomfortable. "Our systems are outdated. We're losing ground." "Modernization costs money," Aunt Patricia cut in, "and requires expertise we don't have." "Maybe Lauren could help," James said mockingly. "She knows all about computers and websites, right, cousin?" The room filled with polite laughter. I stayed silent, watching them joke about the very thing that was about to turn their world upside down. Michael stood up, straightening his tie. "Let's be serious. Morrison Enterprise needs real solutions, not small-time tech experiments. We need to partner with a major technology firm." "Actually," I finally spoke up, opening my briefcase, "I have a proposal about that." "Lauren, please," Aunt Patricia sighed. "This is a serious business meeting. We need real business solutions from real business leaders." I pulled out a thick folder bearing the Horizon Technologies logo. "Oh, I'm quite serious. In fact, I've prepared some documents you might find interesting." "What's this?" Uncle Robert frowned as I stood up and began distributing copies of the proposal. "An acquisition offer," I said calmly. "Horizon Technologies would like to buy Morrison Enterprise. Full purchase, all assets and operations." The laughter started again, even louder this time. James actually wiped tears from his eyes. "Your little startup wants to buy us?" Michael could barely get the words out through his chuckling. "That's hilarious, Lauren. Really, you should do comedy." I waited for their laughter to die down before speaking again. Horizon Technologies currently has a market valuation of $8.2 billion. We've developed the leading enterprise software platform in the industry. Major corporations worldwide use our systems. The room went completely silent. That's impossible, Aunt Patricia whispered, frantically flipping through the proposal. Would you like to see our client list? I pulled out another document. It includes several Morrison Enterprise competitors. In fact, their switch to our systems is part of why your market share is dropping. Michael's face had turned an interesting shade of red. You're lying. Your company, it's just a small local operation. I picked up the remote control for the conference room's display screen. Let me show you exactly what my small local operation has been doing for the past 5 years. The presentation screen lit up with Horizon Technologies' financial data. Revenue charts shooting upward. Market share expanding exponentially. Global offices marked across a world map. And most importantly, a client list that read like a who's who of international business. As you can see, I continued, my voice steady, Horizon isn't just some cute little startup. We're the company that's been eating away at your market share for the past 3 years. James grabbed the proposal, his hands shaking slightly as he read. These numbers, they can't be real. Oh, they're very real. I clicked to the next slide. While Morrison Enterprise was clinging to outdated systems, Horizon was developing the future of business technology. That warehouse office you mocked? It's actually our R&D center, one of 12 worldwide. Uncle Robert removed his glasses, cleaning them nervously. Why didn't we know about this? Why operate in secret? Because you never bothered to look, I replied simply. You were all so convinced I was a failure that you never noticed what I was building. It was actually quite convenient. But the funding, Aunt Patricia interjected. Starting a company like this would require massive capital. You mean like the inheritance shares you all told me to sell? I smiled. The ones you said I was foolish to keep? I used them as collateral for my initial loans. Those shares, combined with my own patents and innovations, were more than enough to launch Horizon. Michael stood up abruptly. This is ridiculous. We're not going to sit here and let you. Actually, you are, I cut him off. Because right now, Horizon owns 22% of Morrison Enterprise through various shell companies. We've been quietly buying shares for months. Add that to my inherited 5%, and we're the largest shareholder. The color drained from his face as the implications sank in. You see, I continued, moving to stand at the head of the table, their sacred spot. Morrison Enterprise needs modernization. Your systems are obsolete, your market share is plummeting, and your biggest clients are already using Horizon's platforms through your competitors. I opened another folder. Here's our formal offer. $2.4 billion for complete acquisition. That's 40% above your current market value. Quite generous considering your declining position. The board will never approve this, James sputtered. The board already has. I revealed another document. Remember Thomas and Elizabeth? The board members you never talk to because they're just silent partners? They've been working with Horizon for years. They signed off this morning. Aunt Patricia's perfectly manicured hand trembled as she reached for her water glass. This is a hostile takeover. No, I corrected her. This is business evolution. Darwin would be proud. I clicked to the final slide showing Morrison Enterprise's projected losses without modernization. You have 2 choices. Accept the offer and maintain some dignity, or watch your company become obsolete while Horizon continues to dominate the market. You planned this all along, Uncle Robert accused, his face red with anger. Using your father's shares, hiding your success. I learned from the best, I replied coolly. Wasn't it you who always said business is business? Well, this is business. The fact that it's also poetic justice is just a bonus. The room erupted into chaos. James was shouting about legal challenges. Michael was frantically calling his lawyers, and Aunt Patricia looked like she might faint. I sat back in my chair watching them unravel. My phone buzzed. A message from my executive team waiting upstairs. Everything proceeding as planned. Shall we come down? Give them 5 more minutes, I typed back. Let it sink in. Finally, Uncle Robert managed to restore some order. What happens if we accept? He asked, his voice hoarse. The Morrison name stays. It has recognition value. The company will be restructured under Horizon's umbrella. Most employees will keep their jobs after retraining on our systems. I paused, looking at my cousins. Upper management, however, will be revised. You're firing us? Michael's voice cracked. Offering early retirement, actually. Generous packages. Consider it a final courtesy to family. The word family tasted bitter in my mouth. I stood up, smoothing my simple blazer. You have until tomorrow morning to decide. Either way, I'll be conducting a press conference at noon announcing Horizon's emergence from stealth mode. Your stock price will likely react dramatically. You can't just walk in here and take over our company, James protested weakly. Your company? I laughed. Look around, cousin. Look at your outdated systems, your declining profits, your disappearing clients. This stopped being your company the moment you chose arrogance over innovation. I pressed a button on my phone and the doors opened. My executive team entered, young, sharp, diverse faces that contrasted starkly with Morrison's old guard boardroom. Meet Horizon's leadership team, I announced. They're here to begin transition planning. I suggest you all cooperate. It will make everything much smoother. As my team began setting up at the conference table, I watched my family's empire crumble before my eyes. Years of condescension, mockery, and dismissal had led to this moment. One more thing, I added, pausing at the door. About that warehouse office you love to joke about. It's being converted into Morrison's new tech training center. I think it's a fitting symbol of transformation, don't you? The acquisition made headlines worldwide. Tech giant Horizon emerges from stealth mode, acquires Morrison Enterprise. The business world was stunned by the revelation of a hidden technology powerhouse. Morrison's stock price doubled on acquisition news, though by then my family owned far less of it than they once had. James and Michael took the retirement packages. Aunt Patricia resigned before we could offer hers. Uncle Robert, surprisingly, asked to stay on in an advisory role, perhaps the only one who finally recognized which way the wind was blowing. The Morrison Building's executive floor was renovated, its dark wood and heavy furniture replaced with modern, open spaces. The old boardroom where they'd laughed at my cute little startup became Horizon's innovation lab. I kept my simple navy blazer hanging in my new office, the same one Uncle Robert had occupied for 20 years. Sometimes, when I'm making major decisions that will shape the company's future, I look at that blazer and remember the day they all laughed at the idea that I could succeed. They're not laughing anymore. As for my small local operation, we just opened our 20th global office. Turns out real businesses don't need old leaders. They need smart ones. Who would have thought a cute little startup could teach a family enterprise such a big lesson in business evolution?